Lesson 4 is about nth roots. So far we've mostly just dealt with square roots, but in this section we're going to be dealing with cube roots, fourth roots, fifth roots, sixth roots, and so forth. Some of those higher level roots. Some important things to note is this number out in front, that 3, that's known as the index. And then anything that's underneath the radical symbol is known as the radicand. So if I refer to things using these terms, you should know what they mean. Another thing that's important to know is when you have a square root like we've had, like square root 16, we need to understand that the index is understood. For example, when we have 3x plus 2, we don't write it, but we understand that this is really x to the first power, that the exponent is a 1. Or when you have 9x cubed plus x squared, even though we don't write it, we know that out in front of that x squared is really a 1. It's understood. So in square roots, the index is actually a 2. Because we use square roots so often, it's just understood that a 2 goes out there. We don't have to write it. We've talked about this before. When you have square roots, know that there's actually 2 answers to these, a positive and a negative. So we know that the square root of 9 actually has 2 square roots. Positive 3, because 3 times 3 is 9, and negative 3, because negative 3 times negative 3 is also 9. The way the book deals with this, though, is if it has no symbol in front of it, it just wants the positive root. So if it's asking for something like this, square root of 9, really, they only want the positive 3. If it has a negative in front of it, that means they only want the negative root. So in this case, your answer would be negative 3. And then in this final case, where they have the plus minus in front of it, that means they want both roots. So your answer here would be plus minus 3. You just take whatever symbol's out in front, and that guides you to what your answer should be. In your assignment, it's going to ask you to use your calculator to calculate some values. Not too tough. We've done this before. In this first one, the square root of 129, you just put in square root 129. Usually, you'll have to hit the second key and then the x squared, because that's usually where the square root is, above it. But once you do that, square root 129, you find that it equals 11.358 if you round to 3 decimals. Not a big deal. In the square root of 4.27, no problem. Type it all in and you get 2.066. Not too tough. There is another way to write these though, and it comes back to that understanding that there's a 2 out in front. So if we're looking at square root of 427, we know that the index is actually a 2. And we know that 4.27 is actually to the first power. Another way to write this is to move that 1 around, and you could write this as 4.27 to the 1/2 power. You can write that in your calculator, 4.27 to the 1 divided by 2. And yes, you do need the parentheses around that fraction. If you hit enter, you find you'll get that same answer, that 2.066. Works the same over here. You could write 129. The index is 2. Move it around. So it's to the 1/2 power. And you'll find you get that 11.358, just like before. Now, when you've got these other ones where the index is not 2, you can still do these. It's just a little bit trickier in your calculator. If you've got a TI 83 or 84, you're going to hit the index number first. So you'll hit 4, then you'll hit the math button. And what you want is option number 5. It looks like a square root with an x as the index. And then once you have that, you put in 602. So it's just telling you want the 4th root of 602. To enter this one over here, you'd need the 6 because that's the index out front. Again, you hit the math key. Choose option number 5, that X root. Type in 723. And this one you'd actually need to add the caret 3 to the third power as well. The other way you could type these in is by using that fraction method or that index method. You bring that index around and you realize it's 602 to the 1/4 power. If you type that in your calculator, you get the answer 4.953. With this one, you bring that 6 around. 3 divided by 6 is just 1/2. So you can type in 723 to the 1/2 power, and you get the answer 26.889. Either method works. Either method will get you that same answer. You just need to decide which one is easier for you. The next thing in your lesson, you're going to simplify these cube roots, these square roots, these nth roots, and you're going to use letters as well. It's always fun when we can use variables. So in this first one, we've got the cube root. If it helps, write everything separate. Cube root of -8, cube root of a to the 3rd, cube root of b to the 3rd. Because I know that -2 times -2 times -2 is -8, the cube root of -8 is -2. Cube root of a cubed, those just cancel each other out. So it's just a. Same fashion over here, so it's just b. Therefore, your answer is -2 times a times b, or -2ab. No problem. Over here, cube root, cube over there. Again, they're going to cancel each other out. So your answer is simply p plus q. This last one's a little bit trickier, but still within our skill range. What you're going to need to do is factor. We know this breaks into z and z. Factors of 16 that add up to 8 would be 4 and 4. So really, I could write this as the square root of z plus 4 squared. And just like this one right up here, those are going to cancel out. Your answer is simply z plus 4. Not too difficult at all. 4 more problems to simplify, and then we're done with this video. In this first one, 225, the square root of it, plus or minus. Just from the games that we play in class that I have Who Has, you should know that the square root of 225 is 15. So your answer is plus minus 15. This one over here, the square root and the squared are going to cancel each other out. Your answer is simply -18. This one with the fraction. If it helps, break it into 2 parts. You could rewrite this as the cube root of 1 over the cube root of 125. Cube root of 1 is 1. We know that 5 times 5 times 5 is 125. So your answer, 1/5. This last one, probably the trickiest, but still not too bad. The 4th root of 16, the 4th root of x to the 8th, and the 4th root of y to the 12. The 4th root of 16 is 2. 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. 8 times 2 is 16. So that's 2. Over here, we can use that method that we did before. Take that index and throw it underneath. 8 divided by 4 is 2. So this will reduce down to x squared. Same method over here. Bring that index around. 12 divided by 4 is 3. So this reduces to y cubed. Your answer, 2x squared y cubed. Easy peasy. Here's your assignment. Notice that it is multiples of 5. And we'll see you in class.